Hank was not this morbid, sad character. From some of the books that have been written about Hank, you would think that the day he was born, that instead of being given milk, he was given a bottle of alcohol, that he stumbled through life as an alcoholic, drunk all the time. Could a man who did the sharing of his talent with the world done that had he been dead drunk all the time? He could not have. But you have to remember something. Many of those people did not know Hank. They did not. They only saw, you see in other people so much of the time what is in you. And many sad people, if that's what they want to find, they find it.
What I remember a lot about Hank was when we lived in the boarding house, my husband and I, after we married. And I would see him in the afternoons. He would go to the old Tivoli Theater, and I would go to the Empire next door, and we'd walk along together sometimes and back. But I would watch him. He was a fascinating person. He was one of the most magnetic persons, even back then, that you could be around, because he had that feeling, the real feeling, you know, and you could see that he was going to one day be something. But I always, too, seen the lonely and the sad look and the happy times. He would be happy at times.
When I was just a child, I had a chance to work with him on 2 different occasions. Worked with him for 2 weeks in Baltimore, Maryland, at a theater. And when they were doing stage shows, and then they'd show a movie and then the stage show, we did like 5 shows a day. And he was my hero. He was the one that, when he was at his peak when I just started playing. So it's mind-boggling. You know, a lot of people don't really realize that he had that thing that you can't put into words. When he came out on stage, he was a magnetism that you just couldn't ignore.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I was riding number 9, heading south from Caroline. I heard that long wow, wow, some whistle blow. Got in trouble, had to roam, left my gal and left my home. I heard that long wow, wow, some whistle blow. Just a kid acting smart, I went and broke my darling's heart. I guess I was too young to know. They took me off the Georgia main, locked me to a ball and chain. I heard that long wow, wow, some whistle blow. All alone I bear the shame, I'm a number, not a name. I heard that long wow, wow, some whistle blow. All I do is sit and cry when the evening train goes by. I heard that long wow, wow, some whistle blow. I'll be locked here in this cell till my body's just a shell and my hair turns whiter than snow. I'll never see that gal of mine. Lord, I'm in Georgia doing time. I heard that long wow, wow, some whistle blow.
Who else he supposed to have loved. Audrey was his love. When he met Audrey down yonder at Josie, Alabama, we was playing a dance in a two-room schoolhouse upstairs. Square dance. And that's where he met her. That's where he used to pick her up at. And her daddy didn't like it.
Why not?
He didn't like Hank Williams, just like my mother didn't like him. at first. 'Cause I went to church on Sundays. I stayed up and closed up at 12 o'clock and done all these things, worked. I had a lot of energy.
I have the invitation that you sent me.
You wanted me to see you change your name. I couldn't stand to see you with another. But dear, I hope you're happy just the same.
Wedding bells are ringing in the chapel.
That should be ringing now for you and me.
While home alone I hang my head in sorrow. Those wedding bells will never ring for me.
In 1942, Hank met and fell in love with a farmer's daughter, Audrey Mae Shepard. She quickly became driver, manager, and a featured vocalist for Hank Williams and the Drifting Cowboys. After living together for 2 years, Hank married Audrey at a gas station in Alabama in 1944. The marriage was as full of jealousy and suspicion as it was of love and tenderness. And this passionate relationship, many believe, was the inspiration for Hank's greatest songs.
I fancy that I see a bunch of roses, a blossom from an orange tree in your hair. And while the organ plays, I love you truly. Please let me pretend that I am there. Wedding bells are ringing in the chapel. I hear the children laughing now with glee. While home alone I hang my head in sorrow. Those wedding bells will never ring for me.
Fingernail is already poking into my guitar neck, and I can't stand that. I don't want to run a good guitar neck. My fingernails grow faster than any humans in the world. If it had all that protein would go right up there, I wouldn't have to wear a hat. Don't they, Mama?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know how to keep a check on.
Well, they do.
The Alabama Honky Tonks, Hank moved up to being a regular on the Louisiana Hayride radio show, a songwriter under contract with the Fred Rose Publishing Company, and an exclusive MGM recording artist. After his first hit record, Lovesick Blues, Hank was finally invited to appear on the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville. His down-home honesty, which attracted men, mixed with his lonesome sex appeal, which attracted women, turned Hank into more than just a star, but country music's first phenomenon.
Oh, I've got many memories of being on that stage up there. Actually, I started in the business when I was 16 years old. I was here, before Hank came here. I worked here as a staff musician. They would put us behind whoever came into Nashville, that didn't have a band. We didn't have air conditioning back in those days, and so we had a lot of hot nights up there on that stage. Best memories that I have of Hank is the first night he was on, he encored 6 times. And when we'd do, back then, Lovesick Blues, was it. And any time that we walked on that stage up there and done the Lovesick Blues, well, we'd figured that we'd have to take at least 3 or 4 encores.
I heard the noise. I was backstage, and I heard the noise, and I ran to the wings, and there he was. It was just a stampede.
I got a feeling of the blues, oh Lord, since my baby said goodbye. Lord, I don't know what I'll do. All I do is sit and sigh. Oh Lord, that last long day she said goodbye. Well, Lord, I thought I would cry. She She'll do me, she'll do you. She's got that kind of loving. Lord, I love to hear her when she calls me sweet Daddy. Such a beautiful dream. I hate to think it all over. I've lost my heart, it seems. I've grown so used to you somehow. Well, I'm nobody's sugar daddy now, and I'm lonesome. I got the love sick blues. Well, I'm in love with a beautiful gal. That's what's the matter with me.
He could sell an audience. He could sell himself to an audience. If he went in front of an audience, he'd go in like I go. I go to sell. I don't go out there just to be looked at. I go to sell them. And I would go out to make them cry. I like to see people cry. I'd sing something, he'd cry, and I'd cry with them.
When he was singing to you, he had the unique ability to sing to thousands of people in an audience, and yet you felt he was singing to you as an individual. And he had that unique quality of singing directly to you and directly to your heart.
The Grand Ole Opry stage during the show was a madhouse. There was no way that you could walk around back here and you couldn't believe that it would ever go on, but it did, and came off perfect every Saturday night.
You could be sitting talking to Hank, and you would say something, and he'd see a song in it. Just like I Saw the Light. We were coming back from a show, and my mother was sitting in the back seat, and Hank was almost asleep in the front seat. Outside of Montgomery, there is a beacon that for the planes to get their location. And my mother always knew that when she saw that light, that we would be home in about 10 or 15 minutes. And she said, "Oh, thank God, I see the light." And Hank sat up in the front seat and said, "What did you say?" And she said, I saw the light." And by the time we got home, Hank had written, "I saw the light."
Prior to Hank Williams, most of the country music was about butter beans and cornbread and
something
trains.
to eat, or take me back somewhere.
Railroads, trains, and like the Jimmy Rogers era, and they were just frivolous. Most of it was a frivolous content, and then Hank, as Don just said, started singing about real life, the way it really is.
Just the way they live.
People that break up with their wife, break up with their girlfriend.
People next door, you know some just like that.
People getting drunk and getting in trouble. He started singing about the things that everybody could relate to.
Country music gives us a window on the real world. And when I want to feel a surge of patriotism or turn nostalgic, or even when I need a little free advice about Saddam Hussein, I turn to country music. The country songs do say a lot about life, and sometimes, and this is true, in the Oval Office, I read a sentence that's under the glass, right-hand corner of my desk, and it says, "If we're going to see a rainbow, we'll have to stand a little rain."
They had a lot of ups and downs. They separated a lot. When we moved here to Nashville, well, really when we moved to Shreveport, Louisiana, from then on they were always together. They still fussed off and on. But they tried to do most of their fussing away from either one of us children. Mother wanted Daddy not to drink at all. And Daddy was an alcoholic. He had been since he was a young man. And he would do just fine for a while. He would go for months and not drink anything at all. Then maybe some pressures would get on him, and he would drink, or he'd be out of town without Mother, and some of his friends would come by and say, "Come on, Hank, let's go have a drink."
I can settle down and be doing just fine till I hear an old freight rolling down the line. Then I hurry straight home and pack, and if I didn't go, I believe I'd blow my stack. I love you, baby, but you gotta understand, when the Lord made me, he made a rambling man. Some folks might say that I'm no good, that I wouldn't settle down if I could. But when that open road starts to call in me, there's something over the hill that I gotta see. Sometimes it's hard, but you gotta understand, when the Lord made me, he made a rambling man. I love to see the towns a-passing by, and to ride these rails neath God's blue sky. Let me travel this land from the mountains to the sea, 'cause that's the life I believe he meant for me. And when I'm gone and at my grave you stand, just say God's called home your rambling man.
Their marriage, I don't imagine that they had any more ups and downs than many couples who both are in the entertainment field. They had a lot of happy times too, and Hank loved Hank Jr., or Bocephus as he called him, very, very much. And Hank and Audrey loved each other almost too much, but they had a lot of happy times, and it wasn't all bad.
I'd like to do a song now that my father wrote with a lot of feeling, and I hope I can sing it with half as much feeling.
I tried so hard, my dear, to show that you're my every dream. Yet you're afraid each thing I do is just some evil scheme. A memory from your lonesome past keeps us so far apart. Why can't I free your doubt for mine and melt your cold, cold heart?
Now, he wrote that song, Cold, Cold Heart, the same day that Hank Jr. was born. I don't know where Hank Jr. knows that or not. But he went in, it's over in Freeport, he went in that room where she was in the labor, and he was trying to make her feel better. She cussed him for everything in the world for something good. Said he just caught her hurting like that. He walked out in the lobby and wrote the song.
Well, Hank was down here, and I called up Audrey in Nashville, and I said, why can't you youngsters get together and quit all this fussing and feuding and fighting? And I said, Hank loves you very much, and how about me flying up there or sending a plane up there and bringing you back here and y'all get together? And I said, he's going on to Oklahoma City, I think, to do some shows out there. And she said, do you think Hank loves me? And I said, I know he does. So I sent my plane to Nashville and brought Audrey back here. And I talked with Audrey later. She called me and she said that that night in Oklahoma City that Hank got very drunk and maybe on drugs or whatever, and said he came back to the hotel and said he'd like to beat me to death. And she said, I got out of there with my things and my robe through that lobby, you know, and I went back to Nashville. And she said, Bob Williams, don't you ever tell me again Hank Williams loves me.
Got home, and Audrey's gone. Well, he got on one, and he shot the windows out of the house, and he really blowed his top. And then later on, I think Audrey came in. I think he done some more shooting. I don't know. She could have been there one. I don't know exactly how it happened. All I got is what Miss Williams told me. Miss Stone, then, you know, she's remarried. But Audrey told the lawyers in court that Hank shot at her. But Hank said, no. Said, I didn't shoot at her. Said, if I'd shot at her, said, I'd have hit her. Said, that's kind of pretty he was. He just tell it just like it was.